Hello friend, welcome back. In our previous video here we successfully loaded our all that student role, right? So now that is our all that role is visible. Like if you select it any year, if you select any class, and after that if you search, then automatically it is loaded one of the all that our student details with using one of the JavaScript, right friend? And also I put one of the null, that is our role option. And into the role area I have already loaded one of the input field. That is actually our input field, right? So into the input field, that is our role, that means our role field. Now I want to update. Okay, so if you want to update it, so I have already add this part. So that is our role generate, and that is our form. So into the form area, that is also one of the method. So you can see there is a method, one of the form as a post method. So now from to this position, I want to update our role. That means this is student role. Okay, so if you want to do that work, first of all we have to create one of the route. So I name one of the route as a not this. Okay, I name it as a role, and then dot generate, role generate, and then store. So this step up one of the route I want to create, right? And that will be one of the post method. Now go to our web route. Into the web route, better I copy it. I copy and then I paste it. So that will be our route. Our route will be as a role generate store. I copy it. So first of all, that will be our role. That means our route as a role generate store, and that will be obviously as a post method. And then I name this that will be as a registration role generate. Okay, so I name it as a role registration role generate, or you can use it as a role generate. Okay, I name it better role generate and then store. So this type of that will be our URL, right? And then in our student role controller, I want to create one of the method, and I just name it as a student. Okay, I name it as a student, then role store. Okay, so this type of one of the method I want to create in our student role controller. So if you want to do that work, better I copy it. So that will be in our role generator, that means the student role controller. Here after this I create new one. I name it as a public, and then function, and then our method will be as a student role store. Perfect. So first work is we have to pass, that is our post method, we have to pass that our requested data. So that will be as a request, and then I take another one as a $request, right? That will be as a $request. After that, here we have to generate it. Also we need that our ID, right? That means the year ID will be needed and the class ID will be needed, because from here we have to first of all load it, and then we have to update this role functionality. So I want to take one of the variable as a year ID, same. Okay, I name it as a year ID, and then from here I want to get all that our requested data. That means the request and request our field name. If you go there, that is our form. You can see that is our form as a request is a year ID, right? So that will be our year ID, requested year ID. And also I want to take another class, that means another variable as a class ID, class underscore ID, and class ID will be our requested. That means the requested class ID. So our requested class ID field actually the same name, maybe, yeah, same name as a class ID. So I now copy it and I take both of this on here, right friend? Now we have to update it. We have to if you go, that is our assigned student table, right? So into the assigned student table, here we have to update, that is our field as a role. So we have to update it with our this student ID, right? Because first of all we have to check it if this student ID exists it or not. That means if you want to update it that role, then we have to update it with our this student ID. So for the reasons I want to put on the condition, like here I make it as a and method. Okay, I just put some of the note for you, then it will be helpful. So after this, I want to take one of the if condition. Into the if condition area, first of all I want to get our ID. That means that is our student ID. So I have already added that part, maybe in our there is a role. So if you go there, that is our name, and that is our student ID, right? So that is our student ID. That is actually our student ID. So now I want to do, first of all, I want to access our this one. That means first of all I want to check it is not null. Okay, that means this requested ID I want to take. So that is our role generate ID, and here that is our class ID, and then that is our year ID. So I want to add this, I want to take this request. So with this request I want to access our student ID, student underscore ID. Okay, so that will be the student underscore ID. So that is actually our field name. First of all I want to check it when it should be not, okay, not equal null. When it should be not equal null, then I want to run our for loop, because into the for loop area we have to load all that our data, right? So we have to load all that our data by our year ID and the class ID. So now I name this, I make it as a for one of the for loop. So that will be on the for loop. So into the for loop I want to add it, started with the 0. Then here I want to add that count. That means in particular that position I want to count our student ID, how many student ID I actually get. So for the reasons I make it as a count function. So with this count function I want to pass our this requested student ID. So I pass that as a requested student ID. Okay, so after that will be as automatically incremented. So after here I better put some of the note for you. That will be as a and for loop. Okay, that will be as a and for loop. And here now I want to actually put all that our condition. So that is actually in our which table, in our assign student table, right? So into the assign student table I have already added our model. So our model is that assign student. So now we can with this we can actually access everything. So now assign student. So into the assign student I put that one of the where condition, where our same in our assign table that have one of the field as a year ID and the class ID. First of all we have to also check it, right? So I make it as a with this assign student when our year ID, will be our this requested year ID. So this requested year ID take the things with this variable. So now I simply pass it. Okay friend, and also we need that our class ID. So better after this I put another where condition, and that will be our class ID, class underscore ID. Okay, that will be the class ID, and class ID will be our this requested class ID. So I just take the things with this variable, and here I pass it. So I hope I already know that requested year ID means if you go to our view, so that is our requested year ID, and that is our another one as a class ID, right? So I take both of these, I put that condition on here. And also we need our specific this student ID, because with this student ID I have already get all that our data, and also it should be updated our role field, right? So also we need that our student ID, because with this student ID we can actually, that is one of the foreign key of our user table. So for the reasons also we have to update that condition. I put another condition as a where. Into the where condition I want to add our student ID. That means in our access student, into the access student, that is I have one of the field as a student ID. That is our a student ID. So this student ID will be our requested one. That means our requested student ID. Okay, so when it will be matched, so that our student ID, and this student ID also I assign it. That is actually one of the student ID, right? And you can see here I have also make it as a type, as a hidden type. So that will be one of the hidden type field. So with this hidden type area I want to take it, that will be also as a multiple one. That means a multiple student data it should be get. So that is our student ID. So here that is actually a multiple one. Also here we have to pass our for each value. So that means after that, okay, that is student ID. After that I want to pass our this I, that is actually I. So I simply pass our multiple all that value here. Okay, and then I want to update what? I want to update only our this role, right? I only want to update it our this role field value. I hope it's very much clear to you, friend. So after that, for the reasons I want to do here, after that I want to update, because here I don't want to update all that our rest of this field. I want to get all that field, but I want to only update our specific this role field. Okay, so this role field value I want to update. This will be as an update, and update will be our field name, our database field name. Here we have to add our database field name as a role, right? ROLL. so I name it as a ROLL. Okay, and this role we have to do here, we have to put that condition. This role will be what? This role will be our requested role field. That means if you go there, so that is our input field, and there is an input field name. I name it as a role, and also there is our multiple role you can update at a time. Okay, so for the reasons I added also multiple one. So that will be as a request. So that will be as a request. So I name it as a request. So with this request, I want to do and to access our this role. Okay, the role, and after that role, that have also one of the our I. That means here that will be our for each value. Okay, that is the multiple one I want to update. For the reasons here, I can say I have already added that multiple array. So that is all that array here. I pass our I. That means that is our for loop I. Okay, so I simply pass it. Perfect. I hope, friend, it's very much clear to you. Okay, after that, make sure you use that semicolon. There is a assign ID. I get check it, and the class ID will be check it, and where a student ID will be our requested student ID, as I told you. So this is student requested ID means here I have already taken one of the input field as a student ID. So with this student ID, I want to pass this data, and also here it will be get that multiple student all the data. So for the reason say I make it as a this one, and after that I want to update only our role field. So that will be our role, that is our database field name as a role, and then our requested one, what exactly the data I pass it from here. So that is the input field is now loaded on particular that area. That means here, right? So here I just simply pass it. Perfect. So now it should be okay, and then that is our and loop, right? So after that I want to add our if condition. So that is our if condition ended. So here I make it as else. Okay, else it will be display some of the notification message as a sorry there have no student, this type of one of the things. Okay, so if you want to show that notification, I did a lot of the time. If you go another controller, so from this position I copy it, there is a notification, I copy it, and then here else it will be display at this type of another notification. Okay, that will be display on the notification array message as a I name it as a sorry there are no data or no student. Okay, that means it will be display this there are no student, and alert type will be as a arrow type, this type of the arrow type it will be visible, and return redirect to the same page. That means here into the same page it will be updated. Okay, so here I want to do that will be in our back page, into the back page. So here we don't need to do anything, and then with the notification. Okay, friend, simple. So that's all we have to do. So that is our and that is our and if condition, right? So that is our if, else, and there is our else, and there is a and if. That means that will be as and if condition. Okay, that will be as and if condition. Perfect. And else, that is our if condition. Without if condition, it will be updated this data, right? So it will be updated. That means again our notification will be needed. So right now I copy this notification again. Better I go to the profile, I take another one, that is a notification, and also route will be needed. I copy it. Else, there is another portion here I want to do and to visible it. Okay, and that means when our role will be updated, then it will be display one of the message as a well done, well done role generated successfully. So this type of one of the message it will be display, and then it will be alert type will be as a success, and after that it will be return redirect to our view page. If you go to our web, in the web you can see that is a role generated view. So here it will be redirected. So I pass that route, or route will be as a role generate view. Okay, friend, and then that is our and method. That means that is actually our started from here, and it will be and on here. Perfect. So that's all you have to do. Okay, so if everything okay, now it should be updated. Now let's check this out. If we get any error, don't worry, we will solve it. So now if you clear the save all, I think, friend, every line is very much clear to you. So now I want to check it again. Now clear the save all. Now go there, clear the refresh. So here first of all I want to check it that condition if this student is empty, okay, that means not null, then it will be show updated it, else it will be show this notification, okay, that means notification will be as a sorry there had no student. So right now they have no student, but I want to generate as a role generate. If you now click as a role generate, so you can see it's now showing as a please item is required. So better I check it, okay, check it, and here after this there are the no student, but I click as a role generate, so it's now showing as a 419. Why actually is visible? As I told you before, when you get as a 419, that means I didn't add any CSRF token, right? So I'm pretty sure I didn't add it. If you go to our role generate, into the role generate, that is our form, right? So into the form, you can see I didn't add that CSRF token, so make that sure you add it as a CSRF token, okay. So that is our CSRF token is missing. Now click as a save all, and now go back, I refresh it again. Now I select one of the date, one of the class, now click as a role generate. Yes, you can see friend, now it's perfectly display our this error as a sorry there have no student, okay. So for the reasons here I put this condition, so here it will be not null, then it will be updated, and so on it will be null, then it will be show our this notification message as a sorry there had no student. Perfect, right? And you can see it's now redirect to our back page, that means the same page with that notification, that means everything is perfectly working. And when it will be done, that means when our this portion will be executed, and when it will be executed, then it will be redirect to our this area, that means with this notification it will be display as a well done, role generated successfully, right? So now let's check this out. If you now click the save all, so that means when our this student request will be not null, okay, that means if they have any data. So now I select it as a 2000 and I make it as a class 1, click as a search. So that is all that our value. So right now I want to update it as a 1 role, I put as a 2 role for this student, and here I name it as a 3 role, okay. So I just put all that student role. So now it should be updated for a specific this all that student, right? So here it should be updated, that is a class 2 to 2020 and class 1. Now I click as a role generate. Yes, you can see, well done, role generated successfully, right? So now if you go your database table, that is assign table, our role should be updated for a specific some of the student. Now click as a browse. Yes, you can see there is a role updated 1, 2 and 3. So that is actually the 3 is updated, right? So if you now go again, and select 2000 and 2000 class 1, click as a search. Yes, you can see it's now updated, and also it's now visible as a role 1, 2, 3. And if you go to the class 2, click as a search. So class 2, you can see that is totally empty. I want to update as a 4 and then 5 and then 6, okay. So now it should be updated again, click as a role generate. Yes, you can see the well done, role generated successfully. So now if you again search it, I want to check it with the class 2, click as a search. Yes, perfect, it's now perfectly updated, right friend? And now if you go to our student role generate, not the role generate, if you go to that student registration, in the student registration, that is also one of the user, that means one of the student as a Rohim, okay. Rohim is actually 19 and class 5. So first of all I want to also update this role, I want to generate it, that is a 19 and class 5. Now click as a search. Yeah, that is actually the Rohim, you can see. So for the Rohim I want to do and to put that name, that will be as a 8, okay. This type of another, that will be as a 8 role or 10 role, okay. That means this Rohim role number is a 10. Now I want to generate it. So perfectly is now generated, and now if you go to that student registration, yes, you can see our role is now updated, okay friend. That means every portion is now successfully working. I hope you like it very much. So we successfully able to complete our generate role with using one of the JavaScript. How much interactive it is, you can see how much interactive. So whatever the data you have right now, you can update it without loading this page with using that JavaScript. So friend, here we successfully complete this part. That means right now we successfully complete that registration, that is a role generate, right? We successfully complete that role generate. So in our next video, I want to discuss about that registration fee. Okay, so how can working with this registration fee, how can calculate all that registration fee data, and also here we will use another JavaScript, and it will be very interactive, one of the things, and also how can calculate this data, how can visible this registration fee with using that PDF format. In our next video, I will show you that things with a live example. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.